this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella came in, he said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, you know, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.
Hello everybody, welcome to Truth Proof. I hope you're all well today and you've had a good weekend, and hope you're looking forward to the week. See how that goes, shall we? We've had a busy week, and I suppose all you guys have as well. And you've just got me tonight, unfortunately. So we'll just see where this goes, shall we? We'll do an hour. We said that as like a get out of jail free card. And we'll run to 2 hours, I think, won't we? But give us some questions in capital letters, please. Yeah, we've done as usual. You know, people who visit those areas where we do a little bit of observation and investigation, which is quite hard to do at the moment. We've had quite a few visitors up in the last couple of weeks, and they're welcome, don't get me wrong. But you know, it's nice sometimes when we can get a bit of instrumentation out and just do a little bit of investigation. Most of the time nothing happens, but we live in hope, don't we? I had an interesting email that obviously I'm going to read to you guys, but it's kind of for all team that go up there, and I think it's just put another slant on it, and I found it quite interesting, and I spoke to the man on the phone, had a natter to him. Andy and John have been up this week. John contacted me a few years ago. I should have said Andy did. Told me his dad had had a UFO sighting. Let me have a look. 1991. That's a long time since, isn't it? And he'd sat on it, just told a few members of family. And I was fortunate enough for him to share it with me. Yeah, so we'll probably have a look at that one in a while. And I've got to say happy birthday to Nigel. And he came and collected some books a few weeks ago. So happy birthday, Nigel. And I hope you have a good one. I can't remember how old you are, but it's a birthday, innit? So it's all worth celebrating. Happy birthday. So let's just have a look who's in chat, shall we? We've got Dragonborn in. Always great to see. Gemma's doing moderating. Lee is. Studs, good to see you, mate. Yeah. Tom Waters, Luby Lisa, Richard Bennett, 9426. Anybody with a long name, they're just going to get called numbers at end. Patrick Daniel, always good to see you. Tony Dixon. We've done Richard Bennett, haven't we? Let's have a look. Michael Adlington. Let's just, I think I saw Yoddle's in. Good to see you. Amelia's in. Nigel Sheffield, lad. Thanks for that, Nigel. Really appreciated. Rod. Linny will be in, no doubt. Pete. Martin. I spoke to Martin earlier. Martin Abbas. And let's have a look. 9693. And we'll do a little bit more of that later. So send us some questions, please, guys, in capital letters, because it's my own fault not getting a guest in it to share with you guys. Oh, Studio 211. So I want to get to this email because I think it's interesting and see how it applies. Everybody see what you think. We're looking, when we go up there, and I suppose you people in chat who are listening to this, some of you will have had a UFO experience, a ghost experience, or something in between. And I got this email, and let's have a look. I want to get right one. And it's somebody who comes in chat. I mean, I'm not going to say who. If he's in chat and he wants to make himself known, you're welcome to. But I found it interesting, and I hope you guys do. Just that, all right, let's go with it, instead of me just postulating and puffling about. So, right. I've sat on this email for nearly 2 weeks, deciding if I should send it or not. I am no expert. I'm an ordinary lad who's shown an interest and been shown things that some people would think were impossible. I do not BS. I'm not after recognition. All I want is for you to read this and take it on board. And if you will, anything that you get the gist. Right, let's have a go. Paul, I must say the energies from you and your team that you and your team are giving off are just amazing. So he's talking about, obviously, you guys know, anybody that doesn't, there's a team of people that end up mostly on the cliff tops around East and North Yorkshire, looking for evidence of the unexplained, right? So the energies are just amazing. I have said it once and I will say it again. It's wonderful to find a site that is genuine, honest in its views and isn't afraid to say, I don't know. And it's British. Now for why I'm emailing you. So that's nice of him to say. So I appreciate that, Paul. In several of my quotes, I have referenced physical mediumship and its reference to what I believe may be a connection to your group. You know, because breaking away from his email temporarily, you know, we in the winter months when basically there's just us guys up there, we try all sorts of experimental things. And this is interesting. You know, I mean, we're looking for lights in the sky. We never say that these things are from outer space. You know, in truth, we're not sure what it is that's in, on and around the areas that we're looking on. But it's fascinating that this guy sent us this and he's referencing it and our group to physical mediumship. The similarities between your team and a physical circle are quite astounding. So I'll just put that there. A physical circle can sit for many years, sometimes with success, sometimes with nothing. It depends on the energies produced by the sitters and if they are blended and right for the other side to use. So I think most people listening to this will understand it, but it's interesting how he's been observing what we've been putting out there and what we've been talking about and the things that we've experienced. You know, because it has gone beyond looking for lights in the sky. We can't deny it, can you? You know, if Linny's sat there and Pete's sat there and Chris Mack's in chat and whoever else comes up there, you know that there's a lot more. And Jack, sorry, I don't want to miss anybody out. You know that there's a lot more to whatever it is that's interacting than just lights in the sky. Right, let's have a look. Your team's dedication through winter, spring and summer and autumn, with no complaints if nothing happens, has been noted by the entities from whatever dimension they come from. Well, we hope it has, but we don't know, do we? I don't. First reference. I just said your energies are quite amazing. No egos from anyone. Everything seems perfect. Second reference. The lights seen by your group, the small sparks of light. In physical circles, so we're going back to spiritualism and mediumship. This is where he's hitting us from, this guy. It's Paul, isn't it? I don't know whether you're in chat, but these lights are seen occasionally and are seen as energy leading towards some sort of manifestation. Thank you. Third reference, the orbs and the visit of the spirit light to you all. Again, in physical circles, seen as possible being of light form. Someone said it had some form of intelligence. Well, I think we probably all thought there was some kind of intelligence to it. Put it this road, as Mark says, who was always on cliff tops with us, there's miles of nothing out at sea, in front of us, right and left of us. And whatever it was, chose us. It could have gone anywhere. But so there's got to be some kind of intelligence, even if it's a stray dog that you whistle and it comes to you. Do you know what I mean? There's something there. There's some semblance of awareness. Right. Okay. Let's have a look. Small. Right. The orb, spirit light, some intelligence. Either way, it made itself known to you all. Fourth reference. Touches by unseen beings has happened to a number of you in the group. Physical circles can only hope to have such experiences. So it's kind of making sort of suggestions that it's almost a spiritual mediumship in a way that we're maybe unknowingly in. I'm not saying it is, by the way, but I can see the way he's linked this, and to me it's interesting, it's fascinating. Physical circles can only hope to have such experience. The tugging of a coat, the touching of one's bottom. Now that's not as daft as it sounds, that, people. You know, he's not said that just randomly. Chris Mack, who's in chat, he's a big guy, 6'2". He's not going to come out with that just random. Said somebody's just touched my bottom, and I have to show you it weren't us. A few weeks ago, Linny's been pulled. Do you know something? I'm not sure that out of everybody in group, I think I'm only one that hasn't. If I'm thinking about that, I've heard the voices and I've heard my name on quite a few occasions, but not being touched. I don't think I have anyway. They might correct me because you forget half of these things that are happening. Do you know we were up there other week, and there's a post just on Edgett Field, and there were a group of people up, and I was stood again the post, and I'd forgot about it, and I didn't even see it, and a number of people saw a flash of light at my feet, and I don't mean I put my torch on, but that's where I'm going with this. A lot of the things. You don't deliberately forget about them, but they just seem inconsequential. But anyway, let's have a look. Right, touches. Let's have a look. Physical circlers can only hope to have such experiences. Sometimes they come with a feeling of cobwebs on one's face. I hope I'm not boring you guys too much with this, but we're going with it, and I'm hoping we might have a few questions after this. Let's have a look. I'll just keep going. All right, question. What paranormal experience? We'll save that, Liam. We'll just keep going through this, but thank you. And in your latest video, Sarah being grabbed and slapped, tapped on the side of the head, didn't she? Why Sarah? Perhaps she has shown some sort of latent gift. So that's my daughter, Sarah, and she's had a few strange experiences happening in her home, probably about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, involving being touched and hit on the head and filming that strange substance, which is a genuine thing that she's filmed, but there you go. Perhaps it's because she's close to you. Paul, they will use any method possible to get your attention. And when he's saying this, people, I don't mean me. I don't think he's focusing this on me. He's focusing this email is sent to the group, I believe. Fifth reference, the manifestation of the being on the cliff face that you and another saw. That's myself and Chris Mack. We definitely saw him. And I know last week I put that footage up that were difficult for anybody to see, that shadow. Chris, not this Chris, another Chris, who may be in chat, I don't know, 40, has had a go at highlighting the shadow for me. And it is better. But I'm reluctant to put it up here tonight because I can't see everything you guys are saying, and it might be a waste of time again. I want to put it up when you can actually see that shadow move across, and I know it's a definite. Let's have a look. Right, when you turned the torch on, it had gone. Full materialization in a physical circle is very rare, but it happens. Sometimes they appear with just the outline and with what you reference as fairy lights. The sixth reference, voices heard by one or more person, names called without the use of a machine or similar to direct voice. And we've heard it. Voices that weren't our own voices. And we're not having some kind of episode. I don't think we can all share some kind of episode where we all hear my name called, or we all hear Jack saying something he'd said an hour earlier and totally out of context, and it weren't Jack. So I'm just trying to put it in perspective and pull in what this guy's talking about. I realize a lot of you people in chat will already know this, but I thought, I want to just, anybody that doesn't, I hope you're on the same page. Right. Similar to direct voice, which is very rare along with full materialization. Paul, it is the grail of physical mediumship. And it's one sec. It's fascinating how he's put this over and in ways that I'd not thought about. So I thank him for doing this. Seventh reference, happenings at home. The cat, I think Mark, yourself, Paul, your daughter, and the smoky substance in her home. You're right about that, Paul, but it's all of us. Everybody that's going up there and investing time are all having those strange kind of experiences. But it's good that you've highlighted them. But Linny's experiencing things. Pete is. Yeah, if I'm being truthful, and Pete's probably more than all of us. But when it comes to this kind of thing, Pete's quieter than all of us. So he's only going to voice them kind of things to us, to team of people that go up there. Right. I have seen such before, but to get it on film is quite something. Others must have had things going on. Yeah, you're correct. Right. I don't want to bore you with this, but I don't think it's boring. That's why we're doing it, innit? So I'll shut up. One warning to the Truth Proof team. If you are attracting good entities, then sure as eggs are eggs, you can attract the negative side. Alien or physical, they are not all good. Well, I think we know that. I really do. And the revelation on the Sunday evening of the chap walking up the track and was scared for no reason is a sure sign of something. I think we're jumping back to Mark. And when Mark were on with Ian a few weeks ago, and Mark kindly shared that story where something just really unnerved him for no reason at all. And like, I'm keen to stress, Mark don't get unnerved for no reason at all. He really doesn't. So let's have a look. So please be aware. And the $1 million question, what do they want? Unfortunately, I do not know of a sitting circle now, or I would ask the question. Most, if sitting, are highly secretive, and there are some people saying they are physical mediums that take mediums and take it from me because I have travelled far distances only to be disappointed. On one occasion, in excess of 170 miles to be disappointed, and yet it does happen. And I'm travelling a round trip of 270 miles, and something amazing happened. So. Let's just don't get me wrong, but right again, it might be, but the entities can work with your combined energies as good as they are. I am wondering if someone within your group is a physical medium. Interesting thoughts, and I really do thank you for that. And I'll put that away. What do you guys think? There might be a few questions from that. I hope it might have spurred a bit of interest. But first of all, we'll just grab this what Lee's put up. Okay. Question: what paranormal experience? What a paranormal experience that caused you to rethink everything? Was there? I reckon that should be. Was there a paranormal experience that caused you to rethink everything? Lee hasn't thought of these questions, by the way, people. These are questions that Lee's collected and from probably months, and just dropped them in a folder and dropping them out. Rethink. Do you know? I think we're constantly rethinking everything, and that's. I don't know as it's a bad thing not to pigeonhole ourselves and say we know what it is, because invariably, I've said it loads of times, haven't I, guys? We don't know what it is. All we know is that it's morphing and adapting all the time. And I think it's Barry Fitzgerald who says it's wearing different masks. And, you know, he's right. I suppose my question to that would be, is it one phenomena that's putting itself out and across as many things? I don't think it is, but you know, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? And you know, I think with Truth Proof, I mean, we've not invented the wheel, but we've made it quite obvious that we believe everything is linked. There's a thread of the same running through it all, and I think the major UFO organizations, the major cryptid researchers who just want to stick to their genre, should we say, are missing a massive trick, because there's definitely other phenomena presenting around the same times. Let's just go down here and we'll see whether we've got any more questions. Oh, you're rubbish at questions tonight, guys. I'm only joking, you're not. Let's have a look. Mel, good to see you, Mel. Hi, Paul, and everyone into the chat. Is that a question, Mel? Doing tea, so I'm unable to text. Yeah, I told you I don't read them. Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Hi, Paul, it's Mulverdite, and I did write the email. I'm in chat as usual, and the mail was for you and the team. I can only pass on my observations. It's for the whole team. Well, do you know something? I really appreciate you taking time. I'm sure Linny will, Pete will, Jack, everybody, Mark, everybody, and everybody in chat, because it just threw a different slant on it, and really appreciate that, and thank you. So let's just... I know you said you sat on it for a couple of weeks, wondering whether to post it. Well, I'm glad you did. Zero Dawn. Paul, are you a victim of your own success with all the new visitors to the cliff tops? Do you think it dilutes the chances of experiencing something? Yes. is the answer to that. But I don't want to make people feel like they're not welcome, because we always make people welcome. John came with Andy and his family at weekend. I'm really looking forward to meeting John and Andy. You know, it was great. So, and there's some visitors here now, and they're staying at a property. Well, I know where they're staying. Let's just put it that road. And no doubt Monday night they'll be up there. They're welcome. People, if we're up there Monday, they'll be welcome. But we do prefer it in the winter months, when there's, quite honestly, there's just us there. There's nobody up there. But do you know what the thing is, Zero? Somebody could come and it could just ignite something. We've had that. So I don't want to put a downer on anybody spending a bit of time up there with us, because we've had people come and we think it's because of their presence that something's happened. You know, Chris Mack, who's with us, you know, when work allows, he'll be with us, you know, at least every Friday. But when work, if he's got time, he comes as other days as well. He brings his good friend Darren up, Daz, and Daz came up on Saturday, and I were really thinking to myself, do you know, something might happen, because on 2 occasions it has, mainly for him, but some people are a conduit for it, aren't they? You know, I really think so. And if somebody goes in with right mind and attitude, because no matter what people think, I think there's a lot more to this great unknown that we're all involved in, that we're all interested in, than just some kind of physical craft with little beings off Cadbury's Smash advert that lay on the back going, I think there's a lot more to it than that. And I think a lot of it starts in here. And the way that we're thinking at the time. And you know, they say like attracts like, don't they? And negative energies attract kind of the negative influence, and positive. Most of the time we're positive up there. We try to be. But it's good what the email said. Just be careful. Let's have a look. It's great now. You're brilliant at questions, you guys. Right, Michael Pennock. Now, it's great because Michael came up onto Cliff Tops to see us. And I've been friends with Michael now for quite a few years. And he's as interesting as anybody you're going to meet. And I'm not just saying it because I've just posted his questions up. He's got a YouTube channel, guys, and I'd love you to find it. Go on to it. Put a link to it, Michael, or just write what it is. I think it's called Evidence Pending. And I think it's going to be really good. And Michael's got a unique way of telling a story and putting over experiences. So I'm looking forward to sharing it. Right. Things happening, obviously covering a wide range of paranormal activity, but what is the most frequently experienced interaction? Phenomenal. That's a good question, Michael. I think the flashes of light. I don't know what rest at team would say. And I wonder how many other people are seeing these. And I don't just mean in that location. I mean all over the place, because it's so quick. You know, it's so random that you don't, you know, it's over before you've even had a chance to think, did I really see that? It's only now that we're tuned into them. I don't mean we've got superior vision, but we're actually looking for these things because it's a flash of light, and we've had them on camera. Remember that when they've been broken down frame by frame, there's been a whiteout. And I don't know how that works when none of us see the flash of light. So it might not sound exciting or thrilling, as thrilling as a UFO and looking at something and seeing little portholes and you know, but it's still interesting. It's something that shouldn't be happening. So most frequently, is it an interaction, Michael? I don't know. There's something trying to communicate. There's something, I think, trying to make its presence known. You know, that I think that come the winter months, if we're going to do anything, I think we should concentrate on trying to maybe replicate or do some real deep dives into us thinking of why that light visited us. You know, I mean, I don't think there's a live stream that's passed since we saw that I've not mentioned it. You know, and I sometimes think to myself, God, I'm doing it again. But that's how special it was. And, you know, you listen to, we've just read that email out from Paul, and you think to yourself, you know, when he's talking about physical mediumship and physical circles of individuals sat hoping to manifest something, and he says it's so rare, and we're experiencing, which I didn't realize we were, but he's highlighted that, all of those attributes that these people are trying to experience, and we're experiencing up there. And like you said, we're up there in all weathers, literally all weathers. We know we come off. We ain't got the luxury of some kind of cabin or anything, so we're up there just in open. Right, let's just jump away from Michael's question for a minute, guys. Let's have a look. Christopher with us. I hope these questions are all right because I don't read them. I'm sure Lee and Gemma are looking. Hi, Paul. I died in 2002. I was brought back by the crash team. Throughout my time in hospital, I was fighting dark forces to keep alive. Wow, that's frightening. And you know, Christopher, I've had a few emails recently about these NEDs. Well, that near death. You're saying you died and experiences, and what does it tell us? It tells us, to me, potentially that there is something after this life. And it's not forced to be all dark, though, is it, Christopher? Let's hope not. But that is, yeah, it's quite something, that, isn't it? You know, and I don't mean it in a good way. It sounds like you had an horrific experience. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, to be honest with you, because that would be better retold by you, because I can only surmise, and everybody in chat can as well. Let's have a look. And we're going to do, if I get chance, I'm going to do, I think I am anyway, this railway, John, the railway one. I've lost it now. Oh, I haven't. I found it. One sec. Let's have a look, guys. Mark, hi, Paul. I think these strange lights and the phenomena you are seeing are feeding off your energy and showing. I think so. And I don't think we've superior energy. And I think we'll revert back to the email that Paul sent, who was in chat, Mulvard, I can't remember a pronunciation. And as a collective, there must be something right about the group and whatever it is that we're firing out at certain periods. You know, we've got this flat spot at the moment where there's not lots and lots happening. We have noted that. We've all noted that. But then there's times when it's prolific, and I really think we should be really deep diving into our minds and asking ourselves why that's happening. I mean, it could be just random, and it might not be anything to do with us, but a lot of these unexplained phenomena that not just us, that other people tap into and connect with, they're doing it through here. You know, the subtitle of book 2, my second book, is that, you know, Beyond the Thinking Mind. Because when you can detach yourself from the everyday trappings of this storm that we're all sort of immersed in at the moment throughout life, and when you can actually just break away and sort of just concentrate on the nothingness and allow your mind to go blank, other things do infiltrate it, don't they? And you know, you get what's called a pure thought. I've thought about it before. I think I wrote about it in Night People. Has anybody ever had what I would call a pure thought? A thought that kind of weren't your own. It weren't coming from conscious thinking. That's what I'm getting at. And I think those thoughts are the ones that connect with the unknown other. I hope that makes sense. And right, let's just go down a bit. Right, let's have a look. Hi, Rod, I love that thumbnail. Any cases of time slips in your area? Yeah, there has been, Rod, and I've got a pile of papers there, and I'd have to go away. But I've got a brilliant one from Rudston. There's one from Fraysthorpe, and it might be something to do, Rod, for another Sunday. You know, probably get 3 or 4 of them together. Even though I've probably told them a year ago or more, it might be a good exercise to go through those time slips. And you're saying in our area and some outer area, which are just as relevant, you know. And it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Time slips, and that sort of being aware that something's not quite right. I always revert to that one. I think it was Burton Fleming and the lady driving her children to school, and normal day, normal tarmac road, and then all of a sudden the car's bumping, and she's on a single track, dirt track, and she even sees a wooden sign indicating a turn off or the direction of a village. Carried on driving for a while and came back out onto the normal road. Is that a time slip? Or is it missing? It's not missing time. That's some kind of glitch in the matrix, isn't it? You know? Right, let's have a look. Victory, have any of you seen orbs in your homes? Yes. I have, but not for a few years, if I'm being truthful. Not what you'd call, something other than a dust particle, something really, really unique. I'll give you an example. Years and years ago, before I converted this property into flats, me and my wife, me and Mary had been out, come home. We'd got a little Staffordshire Bull Terrier. It's important to mention this. I'm not just saying it. I've got a dog then. Been out, watch a bit of TV. Mary goes to bed, turns lights off, leaves me sat on the settee asleep. So much she did all the time. Dog's outside of me. I woke up in the night. Let's say after 2:00. I don't know. Woke up in the early hours, and I didn't open my eyes, but I was aware the dog was at the side of me. And then when I did open my eyes, there was an orb on my knee, on the end of. I definitely wrote about this in Night People. I mean, it's no great story. It's not. You don't have to buy a book for this because I'm telling it you. It's on my knee. It's about as big as a grapefruit, and it's all different colours. But it were only there for about a second. I opened my eyes and acknowledged it, if that makes sense. Not acknowledging it verbally, but I saw it, and it just exploded into thousands of little light particles, and my exact words were, "Wow, do it again." So no fear, but it were on my knee, either settled on it or just above it. But yeah, so I thought that were quite special, and I think everybody who's going up onto cliffs and going to these areas, they've all experienced things. So that's interesting. Let's have a look. Regardless of what you might say or think, the person who emailed has a valid point, and one of you in the group is like a magnet, for want of another word, or a channel of something. Yeah, Nigel, I would agree, and I wouldn't just I wouldn't just sort of boil it down to one. It might be a combination, Nigel, because we've all experienced things up there. I mean, I went up many years with Bob Brown, and me and Bob experienced a lot. I want to get Bob back up there, but he's not great on his feet. And me and Bob experienced things up there. Me and Pete spent years up there, and we experienced things up there. And now, as this team's grown, we're experiencing things. So I think you're right, Nigel. And it might be a combination of a lot of people, or a group of people, rather than just one. But it's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, it might be better if we sort of separated at certain times throughout year. But I don't mean not go up there, but literally separate by 200 or 300 yards, spend in little pockets and see if anything happens. I don't know, but it's all things that we can talk about. That's this from Lee. Question: have you seen something you cannot explain? I can't explain today, even today. I don't think I can explain any of it, Lee. I really don't. I think probably the most perplexing thing for me, and it always will be, are the things that occurred in childhood for me with these beings that I saw as a child. And I've said it every time. I don't know whether they were what people would term as alien, or what some people might refer to as demonic. I really don't know. And at 63 years old, and let's assume it started when I was 4, because I've said it loads of times, guys, haven't I? We don't keep a diary at that age. But I can't imagine it being much younger, or I have no memories of, I don't think, of being much younger than 4 or 5 years old. But I've tried to work through it intensely ever since I sort of, I think you let it almost wash over you as a little boy or a little girl when these things are happening. You absorb it. You don't even probably know that it's not right, or because you just become conditioned to the condition. It's like you drip feed of well, basically it was horror. I'll be honest with you. And then it just tapered off at about 14. And obviously then life accelerates for a young boy, a young girl. You're meeting friends, you're getting more outgoing, you're doing things, then you're going out, you've got a job, you get a relationship, a girlfriend, a wife, children. Life takes over. I mean, things still happen for people during those periods, but for me, it didn't, or very little. And then 1993, moving into this property, it started again. It didn't start within weeks, months, or years. It started instantly, which all of then I say to myself and throw it out to you guys: is our life mapped out and planned? Because it seemed too perfect. That did, to me, it did. You know, for something to start so fast, literally when we moved there, everything just kicked in and started happening. It was like, I don't know, the wound clock up again and it's ticking again and things are happening. And before you know it, right up until 1998, it were going and then it stopped again. I don't know. Thanks, Lee, for that. Luby Lisa, let's have a look. I think they're teaching us bad and the good. Well, maybe Lisa, you know. But what would they want to teach us? You know, I'm not asking you as though I'm expecting you to know, Lisa, but it's difficult, isn't it? I just think that whatever it is that's interacting, or some factions of it, don't look upon us as anything any more valuable than how we look upon livestock. I really do. You know, we might be valuable, but for not for the reasons we think. You know, we're on this blue ball and on the surface of this big blue ball that's allegedly spinning round at God knows how many miles an hour. But what if we're just a crop? I don't know. That's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Let's have a look. Oh, Paul, do you think the military base, Fylingdales, GCHQ and Staxton, etc., along the East Coast have a good handle on what's going on in the local area? You know, Jim, I think they must know. I think they must. Obviously, they're never going to tell anybody if they did, but I think they must know. I was at Staxton Wold yesterday. I can't help myself, can I? So I went up there yesterday. Me and the little Bobster, we went and had a little adventure, and we sort of walked up to Staxton Wold, and I'm sort of. I was talking to myself as I do. I feel like I'm doing that now, guys, and I know I'm not. But obviously, I can't see any of you. And I was theorising on the Flixton werewolf because I was at Staxton Wold. It's 500 foot above sea level, so it's the highest point around. You're looking down onto the village of Flixton. You know, you've got Staxton below you. To the right, you've got Flixton, and a little bit further right, you've got Folkton. But they're all within a mile. Everything's just condensed into that mile. And I was thinking about and I'm looking down onto the ancient lake bed, which would have been Lake Flixton in Mesolithic times, 8 to 12,000 years ago. It's incredible to think about all that history all around us. It's just, and the fact that the archaeologists of the day who excavated and worked at that on the lake bed, which is known as Starcar, concluded that the early settlers on Starcar were shaman, practicing ritualistic magic and sacrifice. It's not just their hunter-gatherers, a little bit more, and then you sort of jump a little bit further with your crazy thoughts and think, where's shamanic? And they talk about the transformation into the beast. Could these be the remnants of what people call the Flixton werewolf? Then I jump into present day, but only a few years back, and we're looking at the couple that were walking their dog. And as I'm walking little Bobby up and into the woods of Staxton Brow, I recall them telling me this story of walking their dogs. And as they're walking their two dogs, they're up on a little bank, the dogs. There's a track going up what people walk up, and there's a little banking of woodland. And the dogs had gone up there and they're just paralleling them. And they look and they can see two dogs, and they're just in the peripheral. And it makes sense in a minute, guys, we think, where's he going with? And suddenly the lady or the husband becomes aware of one of their dogs further down the track, 50 yards, running up towards them, yelping and crying and frightened. They've just seen their dog, so she looks, and her husband looks, and one of their dogs is still on bank, and there's the back and the tail of another animal, nothing else. They can see it paralleling. And it's just the back and the tail dark brown or black fur. It's clearly there. And there's nothing else. Nothing's manifested. There's no head. There's no legs. There's no, I think the little bit of a roundedness, but no chest or anything else to suggest what kind of animal. But it's there, and we're not looking hundreds of yards. It's literally 20, 30 foot away from them, and one of the dogs is walking. The other one's frightened to death. Might as well just go through with this little story because it's an incredible account. The dog that ran away, they were worried because I think it were a rescue dog. And if this lady's watching or anything, I hope I'm not saying it out of turn because I think I'm right. And it were a little bit skittish and not good with people. And it had ran away. So they were not panicking, but they were worried. They'd got to find this dog. So she went home, took the remaining dog home, and went to get a whistle, I think, that it would come for. It was something like that. And he went to look for the dog. When she arrived back and she'd pulled right up to the top of where the woods are, husband's coming back with the dog and he's saying, quick, get in the car, get in the car. The dog's coming with her husband, and this back and tail was following them. What's all that? And people talking about the Flixton werewolf, and we know it sounds nothing like that. But there's clearly something. There's clearly something. And then I thought about jumping back now to the military base, RAF Staxton Wold, because that's where it were literally within 500 or 600 yards of the RAF base. You go up the hill through the wood and then across a field and bases there. And I'm on the money, about 500 or 600 yards. So, okay, it's a base to detect things, not necessarily physical, like a dog or people. However, how many times do people say when they're in the presence of this great unknown that there's a change in air pressure, there's a static in the air, that there's this sudden silence? You would think that something like the radar base may detect that kind of thing. I mean, they must have high security around it anyway. I would think. But so when you say, do you think they're aware? I mean, there's that happening 500 yards away. But let's stay with that for a moment. As I said, because I went there and I was walking around there yesterday. We got wet through, me and the Bobster, to be honest. But we still enjoyed it. Because that lady and her husband, the lady came and told me that account and walked through the woods with me. And we did that story, which is on the channel somewhere. And I've Steve Collins to thank for this, Steve in chat, because he connected me with these people. I actually didn't know about the lady's sighting. Someone else had told me a few years before. I think her experience were probably about 2020, 2021. I'm not certain. But either a few years before or a few years after, another man and his partner, Dave, and his partner were walking their dogs. Guess where? The same place that this lady and her husband were walking the dogs when this fur-covered back and tail appeared. Don't make sense, does it? And they're walking their dogs, and a little bit further up the bank, it's, let's say, in the middle of the wood, but you can see all the trees and there's gaps between them. It's not dense foliage. And they say something oblong-shaped that's black moving through the trees just off the ground. They didn't describe fur. I'm not going to dress it up and try and bend it into what they saw. It may have been if they'd have got closer to it. But don't you find that fascinating? Location is key. That this lady had this experience where their dog got frightened, and then Dave and his partner saw this strange oblong-shaped thing. I think he said it was curved at the ends as well, moving through the trees. It's not in the sky beyond the trees, it's in the woodland, and they can see it moving through, and it's above the ground. So there's something highly unusual in that area. So when we talk about the stories and the accounts of the Flixton werewolf, which I think is definitely the oldest probably reported cryptid in the United Kingdom, and when we're going back at least 1,000 years. Well, we're going back more than 1,000 years if we want to talk about. If we want to connect it, and we'd have to connect it loosely, we haven't got no proof. If we want to connect it to the shamanic people that lived at Starcar 8,000 to 12,000 years ago, but if we want to go back to ancient times. We go to 937 AD, and we go back to King Athelstan, and he had that refuge built at Flixton, Carman's Spittal. That's what it was called, Carman's Spittal, and C-A-R-R. Cars means wetlands. And he had that built to protect the travellers from wolves. You know, I've said this many times, because wolves, the wolds and around that area were one of the last strongholds of wolves. I think the late 1800s, wolves became eradicated. Wolves are not werewolves, are they? But the writings also said from wolves and an infestation of savage beasts. And I find that little line fascinating, because what would the savage beasts be? What would we have in the United Kingdom in 937 AD? That's over 1,080 odd years ago. What would we have that would be more ferocious than a wolf? Don't say a bear, because they'd gone 1,500 years before that. So led us a few places, did that one, Lee. Let's have a look here. Paul, what do ghosts wear on their legs? Just paranormal pants? Sorry. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it, that we see ghosts in clothing. Or maybe you guys are listening to this and saying, why is it weird, Paul? No, it's not weird, because these are an actual entity and they choose what they want to appear in. Perhaps they do. I don't know. When I think of ghosts, you think to yourself, why would it proves in a way that it's to me, if we're recreating these things with our own minds or helping, that we're almost dressing them. I'm not sure I'm right with that, to be honest, but it's fascinating that we see ghosts, and we see ghosts on horses and then legions of soldiers, Roman soldiers. So are they just memories and residual energies trapped in time with no awareness at all? It's difficult, isn't it? It really is. Let's have a go. Oh, time's flying. I'm going to do John's story because if you don't mind, guys. So it was lovely to get this sighting. So we're going to do this from 1991. It's not the smoking gun of ufology, but I still think it's interesting, because it's an example of a UFO story, a genuine UFO story that's been sat upon for years and years. Only people he shared it to are his immediate family. So, right, I wrote, is it possible that 3 men witnessed something from another world in 1991? This will be the first time anyone has ever heard about the railway UFO sighting outside John's immediate family. And I, for one, feel honoured to have been, and for him to have felt comfortable enough, get your teeth in, Paul, if I'd got false teeth, to share it with me. John told me back in the 1990s his job was a plant hire operator. In other words, a machine operator. The job involved using machines like cranes, excavators and bulldozers. Back in the 1990s, John worked for a firm that did quite a lot of work on the railways. On the day in question, John was working on a single track line with his friend. He was with one other worker from the firm that worked there for the railway operative. The track they were working on went on what John describes as a large facility. He added it may have been a warehouse, although he cannot remember for certain. He remembers that it was a very clear summer night when they saw the UFO. He thinks it was close to dawn, adding that it never really got fully dark in the height of summer. Well, he's correct. We know that when we go up onto cliff tops and you're up there quite late, and we all kind of say, it's not going to get any darker than this, is it? He told me that they were doing a small clean-up job on the side of the track and that the UFO appeared whilst they were having a tea break. 1991. John told me that his work colleague, and there were another man, I think the other man were overseeing the two machine operators, and his colleague, I think he were overseeing them because he actually worked for the railway, so they had to have somebody to be there, to just oversee them and watch them. Let's have a look. He told me that the other man began calling him, and they were stood on top of an embankment, and they wanted him to look at something further down the track. They were pointing to a bright shining sphere of light that seemed to be coming up the other side of the track towards a railway bridge. that went over the line. The light appeared to be travelling along the middle of the railway line, and it was very low in the sky. When it finally reached the railway bridge, it stopped and hung in the air directly above it. The three men were amazed by what they were seeing. It was perfectly round and shining, a ball of light. John cannot remember how long it hung motionless over the bridge, but it was more than a few seconds, perhaps 3 or 4 minutes. He has no recall of what happened in that time. Perhaps they were just shocked into silence by what they were seeing. Yeah, because he didn't imply that something had happened during that space of time. So, it's honest as days long, this fella. After a time, it moved to the right-hand side of the track. From there, it slowly travelled over the fields, all of the time remaining low in the sky. John is sure it was close to dawn because the sky was very clear and bright, which meant they could see it for miles and miles. Can you imagine watching that going into distance? Everybody who's interested in the subject of the unexplained, UFOs or whatever you want to do, I mean, I think Paul talked about it in email, the holy grail of mediumship on whatever. This would be the holy grail of seeing an unidentified flying object. The good observation. They watched it until it disappeared out of sight. The location it travelled was between farms and open fields, and it was close to Cannock and Stafford Road. John also remembers that it was close to an airfield that flew microlights. I note that Cannock Chase is long associated with things of unexplained nature. He told me that the other plant operator never admitted to seeing the UFO, and he never saw the railway man who was with them again after that day. There's no mystery there. He's just laying it out as it is. He told me that none of them felt any fear or apprehension as they watched the object. They were just amazed by what they were seeing. The next part of our conversation brushed away any thoughts of the UFO being a misidentification, because he said that when it stopped over the bridge, he was able to see that it had windows. In his own words, observation windows that were circular and that ran around the middle of the sphere. That would have been amazing to see, John, honestly. He did not see anyone or anything inside the UFO, but says they were definitely windows. He cannot be sure how high it was above the bridge, but stressed it was low in the sky, no more than 50 to 100 feet above the ground. John also gave me an estimate of its size. He told me that it hung in the air above the bridge and appeared to be as wide as the bridge, which he estimated to be about 50 feet wide. The UFO was perfectly still and silent for the short time they observed it. And he's sure that he would have heard it if it made any sound. The distance from the bridge to the men was 100 to 200 feet. The light coming from the sphere was not brilliant, but it was bright and shining, and all of the windows were lit up in white light, which appeared to be illuminated from the inside. He cannot remember feeling any change in the atmosphere or any static in the air, and he cannot remember what the other two men thought about it at the time. He told me that the sighting has crossed his mind many times over the years, but apart from telling his sons, he has kept it to himself. He said there was no other people around, and he never heard any reports of UFOs in the local news. Well, he's shared it with us now, hasn't he? That was brilliant, weren't it? And thank you, John. Honestly, that absolutely. These are the reasons I do this, because you get something like that. And as I say, we were lucky enough to meet up with John, his son, and his family for a few days last week, and you just know when people are genuine, and there's just no need or there's no reason to relay something like that. And it tells everybody who will listen that, but forget the debunkers and the skeptics who say these things it's not possible for them to be here. You've only got to listen to stories like that. It's like the big cats. I've been putting quite a few big cat stories up and walking about in those forests with Chris, and we've talked about the big cats. And the comments in the after the YouTube film, the comments that people have made, of course, there's some that are negative and saying that these things don't exist and they're not out there. But there's literally hundreds of comments and hundreds of people that say they've seen them. The comments alone far outweigh any sort of words about these things that don't exist. I spoke to Nick in Week about his big cat sighting at Leven, which I hope to be putting on to YouTube maybe Tuesday or Thursday. I'm not 100% certain. And I put a short up of about 1 minute long. And the next day, someone else contacted me to say that they think they'd had an experience in that area with a big cat, 2019. and Nick's were just a few years after. So it's this is what it's about, sort of, putting all these pieces together and connecting other people and putting more meat on the bones of the unexplained. I mean, the big cats aren't true unexplained phenomena, but there's a lot of people say that they're not there, but there's the volume of people that have seen them far outweigh it. Let's have a look. What's all this? So that's a long question. Paul, I concur with Paul. When I see spirit, it first manifests like cigarette smoke, and then I see flecks of coloured light and orbs when I performed rostrum work. This led me to the person who needed aid. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us. What you're saying there and what Paul said earlier in his email is just another avenue. Because we shouldn't, like we said earlier, we shouldn't close ourselves down and pigeonhole ourselves and say, oh, we're UFO researchers or we're cryptid researchers. Just leave yourself open and just absorb everything that's coming to you in a positive way and put positive energy out. Like attracts like. Let's have a look. Hi, Paul. I think you have a new map up. Is it for new sightings? No, it isn't. This map it's been up ages, if I'm being truthful. And what I had when me and Chris were doing the last transmission, I didn't want the same background when we did last transmission live streams as what we'd got when we're doing the truth proof ones. So I got a piece of ply and sort of that it just went in front of it. But I thought, well, we'll take that away and we'll just have the map up. Now this map we're done. This is the area where we kind of do our observations all the way up the coast, way past the top of it. And so you've got Bempton, Flamborough, Speeton, and all those areas. And there were all the yellow dots were to signify areas where the light forms had been seen. The red dots were where the animal fatalities were. They all had a reason, and they were specifically, this map were done for the documentary Bringing Down the Light. And so it's been there quite a while. I mean, I might get rid of it. I'm to be honest with you, but thank you. Let's have a look, brother Littlefoot. Good to see you. Let's have a look. And oh God, how do you say that? I'll just a shade sky. Sean Drew. Let's have a look. Willers. Why are all these names hard to read? Bumps in the Night. Dizzy Dawn. Anglo Fire. There's loads of people in what we got in here. Now 440 people. Thanks for support, guys. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll just quickly do this because I really need to make a little advert because I always kind of feel embarrassed when I'm saying it. But if you've not pressed the like and subscribe, please consider doing it. It's literally somewhere on your phone, your laptop, your PC. Just it's free. Just do that. Gives us a bit of support. And I say it every week. Anybody interested in the books that I've written, the Truth Proof books. There's 5 books, including The Night People. Well, it's not there now, is it? I went like that because it's usually there and a little advert for it. So there's 4 Truth Proof books, all full of first-hand accounts of the strange and unusual. That's the first book. And there's another 3. There's no order in which to get these books if you were interested in getting one because they don't sort of follow on. You'd find them interesting. Night People's the different one because that's about my experiences. You can get them on Amazon as Kindle downloads, or you can get them from the truthproof.uk website or on eBay. So there you go, guys. The books are available if anybody wants them. Oh, let's not forget the Wolflands DVD that myself and Les made, which is on Amazon Prime as a download. And I'm going to say it because I mean it as well. I highly recommend it. It's an absolutely brilliant film about the cryptid phenomena in the UK. And if you want an hard copy, a DVD, if anybody who orders one, it'll be posted in the morning. That's the way I operate. And if you have a look at the feedback, we've got really good feedback. So there you go. So that's that. That's that bit over. Right, let's have a little look. Let's see. Rick Allen's in. Good to see you, Rick. Richard Bennett. Let's have a look. Linda. I'm looking for questions. I'm not just going to read names. Rhiannon. Everyone hit the like button, please. Yeah, we'll second that, Rhiannon. Let's have a look. Brother Littlefoot. That's I don't know whether it's a question, mate. Rick Allen, do you think the Sasquatch are demonic? Because you said there are some really off-course stuff last time I saw you in this chat. Really off. Yeah. Well, Rick, brother Littlefoot, as his own train of thought when it comes to this, and you don't have to agree with him. And we all think differently about what's acting and interacting with us. I've done an interview with Rick, and I've still got to do another 2, because there's a lot of what Rick says that I think is really valid. And he knows what my next line's going to be. And there's some that I kind of don't agree with. But I think me and Rick know each other well enough that we can agree to disagree. And I'm still looking forward to finishing them interviews with him. And likewise, brother Littlefoot, love to talk to you. You know, I know you've had some experiences, and I know you've got some things you want to share. And what you've got to say is just as important as anybody. Let me just do this. Paul, concerning the light in your circle, I see how you're putting that in our circle. we're not spiritualists, but I get it, because in nature of the email that I've read, 7622, did it react to the psychics of our world, for instance? Did it sink as if pulled down by it was lively. It was lively and energetic. So energetic that we're questioning whether there were more than one. And I don't want to bore people, but when it hits Chris Mack in the stomach, and it literally did, it lit up that area. But at the same time, Chris is looking at Pete's hand that's lit up with a ball. And I never saw Pete's hand because I couldn't take my eyes off it hitting Chris in the stomach. And we only said the other day, I wonder if there were more than one. His gut feeling is it were that fast. It were interacting with everybody, and we'd like to sort of experience some more of that. So, and Chris noted, I think Chris got a better view of it than any of us as regards, maybe ties in with what you've just asked. Chris noted that this light that were probably just a bit bigger than a golf ball, an apple size, just a bit smaller, it had a vibrant blue light around it. And he said it was like fighting for energy and getting smaller. And then it just shot off into the grass, kind of just bounced away. It was weird, but good. So what's this? Oh, Mick Park, bloody hell. Good to see you, Mick. Evening, Paul. Hope you and the family are doing good, buddy. Yeah, we are, mate. And all better for hearing from you. Yeah, all good, Mick. Thank you. And I hope we're going to see you at some point this year. As you know, you're always welcome. And let's have a look. Question from Lee. Have I ever experienced missing time? I don't think I have, Lee. I really don't think that I have. I'm not certain. But I like the kind of solid cases where people do experience something and then realize that there's some kind of glitch in their own time. You know, they should have been home at 10 and it's 1 in the morning. So there we go. Let's have a look. I'm sorry about all this, people. Let's just go down these. Paul, do you think the phenomena gets as much out of it as you do by seeing it as a shared emotion? We don't know what it wants from us, Nigel, do we? Do any of us know what this unknown wants from a person? I'm not sure I do. You know, if I revert back to childhood, and I can't imagine anything with any intelligence or compassion subjecting a small boy to that fear. There's nothing good come out of that. And it weren't like I knew anything about, I'd initiated anything because I was a child. So it was getting something out of frightening me. That's all I can say. And the total opposite when we talk about the sphere of light, because we all felt kind of elated and absolutely thrilled that this light had interacted with us. And we literally talk about it all the time. We're up there. You think to yourself, gosh, how could it create that feeling? How could it create that emotion and that emotional high within a group of people, a group of grown men, who've had colourful lives? There's a life beyond this. Let's put it that way. And but it just did. It just did. I can't explain. I can't explain it, but it just did. And I think I won't say winter time, but I think this is something we're going to have to work on, because there's got to have been some ingredients that created that There's got to have been. So let's have a look. I can see Rick Allen and Brother Littlefoot. I mean, Rick, don't be whining, people. But I ain't got a chance to read questions, but I can imagine you are. Right. Are you aware of any dogman sightings in Scotland? Do you think they are linked to any particular type of landscape? Not sure of the landscape, Pipkin, but there's. Do they call it Machrihanish? The place in Scotland that's supposed to have got the longest landing strip in the world, and I think I'm right with that. I have some sightings of what people would call dogman from up around Machrihanish. So I'll have to look into them and get them shared with you guys, because they're interesting, because I think the actual sightings themselves are connected to allegedly connected to the airbase. Oh, thank you. You leave his door open?
Yeah.
Please. Right. There's my assistant. She just made me a drink, look. So there we go. So well, we're done with that. And I got another. I've got to follow it up yet, but there's another report from Ben McDewey. The Big Grey Man report. So there's another one of them. And somebody told me that they'd experienced it and had a terrifying experience up on that mountain. And we're not talking about anything like Everest. You can actually, it's just a big steep gradient that takes about 4.5 hours, I think, to get up. But it's second highest mountain other than Ben Nevis, isn't it? So that one fascinates me because of all the reports that go back decades and decades. And we've got a proper. I know a lot of people want to throw in that it's a Brocken spectre, some kind of refraction of light, but there's people talking about seeing it or hearing it in the dead of night, the footsteps, seeing huge shadows and lights around their camps. So when the sun's gone down, they're having these experiences as well. So that's a place that fascinates me. Well, let's have a look at this. Has anyone seen Out at Carnaby? I go regularly. Yes. Studs were in chat earlier. I don't know if he still is, but he put me in touch with a guy. I don't know he put me in touch with somebody who'd been to Carnaby. I'm sure it was Mark that put me in touch with him, and they'd gone out, I don't know, for a bit of fresh air and looked up into the sky's huge triangle-shaped object. That's at Carnaby. Carnaby's an industrial estate, people, on the outskirts of Bridlington. If you didn't know that, my nose is itchy, people. Oh dear. Let's have a look. What does that mean? Let's have a look. Lobby Lisa, Amelia, good to see you, Amelia. Let's have a look. The real CG, Tim. Tim's got a question. Adrian Dodsworth, good to see you. Oh, great top support. John Paul Body, always good to see you, John. Let's have a look. Have you tried playing different sound frequencies through a speaker while on the cliff tops? No, but they're all things we should be doing. I'd refrain from playing sounds during the night at this particular time, simply because it's a seabird colony, and all birds are nesting. We don't want to be disturbing them. But they're all things that that are noted. Now, Mick Parker, who's just been in earlier, and Mia Girl's in. Good to see you, Mia Girl. Me and Mick went up on a really thick, misty night. Really, really thick, dark night, back end of year, and we played some, I think, with the Gregorian chants and trying to evoke some kind of atmosphere, and it were an experience. We experienced nothing, but it was an experience. Seeing him with these sounds, playing these sounds, probably 20 to 30 foot away from me in thick fog. So that were kind of. These are just memories. They're just memories that are made, and there's no paranormal element that happened from it, but it were interesting. But you make a good point, Tim. Let's have a look. Mia Girl. Let's have a look here. My friend's mother was in a coma for 4 days. When she opened her eyes, she said, "I have just seen heaven and it's beautiful," then passed away. Wow. That's something, isn't it? And it's funny because I might have some that might go with that. I've just got a few stories, guys. Well, I'll probably not be able to find them now. I want to, but no worries. Just bear with me. No. Bloody useless, aren't I? I will do. I will do. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I've got a few here. So, but there were one that was that were kind of, it kind of applied to that, but not the same, not quite the same. So, I've just seen heaven and it's beautiful. What does that tell us? Does that give us comfort? I think it does, doesn't it? Of some kind. It would give me comfort. I like to think I'll be breathing for a few years yet. However, as Michael quite honestly pointed out, who comes up onto cliffs with us, some guy showed him a tape measure. He pulled a tape measure out and he says, how old are you, Michael? And let's assume Michael was 50. He says, I'm 50. And he pulled 50 on tape. And then he sort of went up a little bit. He says that you've only got that much left now. When you think about it, it's you've got to laugh, but when you think about it, he's right. But where am I going with it? Yeah, I'd like to think that there's something after this. I really do think that there is anyway. So I guess we'll not know until, until that day. What is it I say? Life is a good opponent, but death has no equal. You'll not find that quote anywhere else but from my mouth. Let's have a look here. Hi, my name is Annie. I read your book, Night People, and could relate to it with my own experiences. I had an encounter when I was I had an encounter with a small suited alien 2 years ago who watched me in my bed. I felt an affinity to this alien being, and as though it was my own child, I did not feel afraid. I felt a loving towards him. It's interesting because I spoke to Annie, and she's no longer with us. Another experience I had, and this is the one I'm getting at, that's not same as yours, Mia Girl, but it's similar lines. Another experience I had was at the age of 26 I was 26 in 1976 when my mother, Mary, passed away of breast cancer. I took her passing very bad, and I was crying in my bedsit on my own at the time. I was suddenly transported from my bedsit in what I can only call a small vehicle. My brain thought I was in a car, but the next thing I was in a vehicle that was all glass and made a buzzing noise. The strange thing was that I seemed to be a 6-year-old version of me. I was wearing a red coat that I had at the age of 6, I remember. This alien bubble thing then stopped in an earth-like place that was rather barren. And I waited a minute or so, and then my mother came towards me in the glass bubble craft with her arms open, and she was young-looking. She was dressed in a long black robe with a boat-like neck and fluted long sleeves and a cord-like belt around her waist. She went on to talk to me in my mind, saying that she was well now and happy that she wanted, and she was happy, and that she wanted me to go home to my family and look after my father and my younger brother and sister. This I did straight away. I remembered that she did not walk, she glided. And when she had got her mind message through to me, she retreated but kept looking back at me as a child, as in this alien craft or ship. I found the whole experience very uplifting. And that was when I was age 26. I was puzzled. It was as if I'd been transformed into the child body. It was as if I had been transformed into my child body for this experience. I spoke to that lady, and she was so genuine, really, really interesting lady to speak to. And I love it when people feel confident enough to share things that are, there might be some people rolling their eyes and say, "Oh, I can't get my head around that." Fine, I'm not bothered. It don't matter. You don't. In which case, you don't have to get your head around it. This lady's told me something that's unique and it's personal to her, and I give people the respect that they deserve when they do that. Right, so thanks, Mia Girl, for that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Welsh Rebel. I've just finished reading Night People. It was terrifying. I cannot even begin to imagine what you went through. Do you know, when I wrote Night People, I only said this the other week to someone. I didn't know I were writing anything frightening. I really didn't realize so many people have got in touch with me after reading the book and said how frightened they were reading it. but I didn't realize I were writing anything frightening. And there's other people that have read the book, excuse me, and said that they've had experiences. Now, I don't think the book creates the experience, but I do think that the mindset and the frame of mind that you can put yourself into, if you're that engrossed in something, not necessarily that, anything, be it prayer, whatever you want, you can be touched, or you can touch the unknown other by sort of applying this this unconscious mind beyond the thinking mind. Just let yourself go and just immerse yourself in the moment. So thank you for that. I thank you for being frightened. I shouldn't say that, should I? But I just relayed it as it was. Thanks for the questions, guys. Without them, there's nothing, is there? So you're just as important as what this live stream is. Me encrypted Kitty grew up in a haunted house. Every house since has been normal. Maybe between the age of 14 and 1993, you were not in the right environment. Non-believers just haven't been exposed like us. Do you know something? You could be right. Do you know when I'm asked, what did I say earlier? I wonder if these things are planned and everything's sort of just ready to happen at certain periods in our life. But it could be, just as you've said, Dizzy, that we were just in the right environment, because let's not forget that this property, we'd only been in it a few weeks, and Reverend Tom Willis, the exorcist, knocked at the door and wanted to bless the house. We didn't ask him to. He'd been before. So, it did come with a bit of a history, the actual property. So it could be right, yeah. And I was looking the other day, and there's a haunted trawler. Somebody in chat, I might not get to it if you do it, but somebody in chat might remember the name of it. I can't, but I know one at men who sort of went to sea on that boat, and I'm gonna see if I can have a few words with him and see if I can do a little film for YouTube, because he said that there was a few experiences on that haunted trawler. Why do I mention haunted trawler in reference with Dizzy's question? Because I've just mentioned Tom Willis, and I know he went and blessed the trawler. So I have to just put that in, otherwise you'd think I'd gone completely nuts. Let's have a look. Nah, that guy you had on the other week said, what proof of UFO having underwater bases? Video on YouTube, Congress saying American US Navy monitoring for years crafts coming in and out of the sea. I agree, Mark. I can't speak for any base or anything, because I've no knowledge of that. And I've no knowledge as to what we've personally seen as a team up on the cliff tops, but we've got footage, not imaginary. We've got footage of lights below the surface of the sea. And I can't think what it could be. There's not going to be anybody diving within that quarter of a mile out from those cliffs. And there's big luminous light. On 2 occasions we've filmed them below sea, and other people have come to us. One operative of the RSPB claimed that they saw a red sphere enter at sea and a red sphere leave the sea, spheres of light. During what we've called the Wilsthorpe incident, which was 2009, the guys who were digging the bait for the fishermen, they dig bait like worms and things, and people go fishing off Harbour Wall in Bridlington and on boats and what have you. They claim that they saw a triangular-shaped object enter the sea. So there's plenty of evidence for spheres of light. I mean, is there something structured beyond the light that we can see that it's emitting? Or up on the cliff tops, I think it was 2019 with Dave Barnes, and we're walking along the cliff tops, and Dave sort of really excited, brought me, he says, a light's just come out at sea at Filey Brig, which is 6 miles away. I'd got a camera on it when it were in air, and then it just proceeded to go along near enough till it were level with us, and then went back down and into the sea. So that's interesting. I mean, if anybody in chat saying, why didn't you get it on film? We've got it on film. I'm in the process of trying to get this footage that I've taken, an incredible piece of footage that Linny's managed to film, not into the hands of somebody, but I want somebody who's pretty prolific on the internet with the US Navy released footage and everything else. I want them to have a look at what we've filmed, because, and there'll be people in here. Somebody will put some nasty comment up later saying, I noticed you were boasting about how good footage is. It's people like you that are making me want to do this, because it really is good, and I want to get it out there, and we'll see then, won't we? Money where mouth is, kind of thing. So First question. Let's have a look. Question: do you trust eyewitness testimony when it comes to paranormal? To be honestly, I think we've got to do, because in most instances, all we've got is the spoken word, and that's usually just people. It's people giving us their version of what they've seen and experienced, which has come through the eyes. Do you know what I mean? It's they can only speak about what they've seen, because in most instances there's no documented evidence other than anecdotal evidence, and that's the shame, isn't it? That's the sad. I would sometimes wonder if all of these great unknowns that we're all investing as time in, all these incredible mysteries, I wonder, it's just a crazy one, but I wonder if it's just a natural thing to keep us curious, to keep us searching for answers. The phenomena's evolved as we've evolved. From the 1940s, well, beyond that, but from the 40s, but that's when things really started getting documented regarding the UFOs, I think. We know there's paintings depicting things that don't quite fit the norm, old paintings, but things really started to kick off 1947, didn't they, after Roswell, and it's been documented throughout that time. But throughout that time, the UFOs, the phenomena has evolved, it's changed, and it's keeping us guessing constantly, isn't it? It's keeping us on our toes, and we're still not really any closer to knowing what it is. I know we've got all the disclosure talk, and we've got a lot of people in high places who are hinting that they know what it is. But do they really? Do they really know? I don't know. I wish I did. Right, where are we going? Let's have a look. I see Rick Allen and Brother Littlefoot. I'm not reading it. If I read it, I'll end up getting immersed in it. Rick, it's no good arguing all the time. Not everybody's going to agree with you. And I'm not having a go at you, Rick, because we're going to do them interviews. But you're passionate about what you do, and you're very good at what you do. But not everybody's going to agree. I'm going to ring him later and see. Thinking of Anthony's head, I don't know what this is. Past Buffy program, the initiative sounds similar. Strange things come on a disused basis. I'm not sure what this is. I'm not sure what that is, so I'm going to pass that over. All right, let's have a look. Way back in 1984, when my brother and his mate Jim were biking between Howden and Bubworth and all those locations, heading for the Hideaway Inn, I was in front and saw something huge and black jump from an upstairs window. Wow. I wonder. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely. Let's just have a look at this. This is an interesting story I'm going to share with you guys. Let's do another one here. Right. Hi, Paul. I really enjoy your channel. I was watching your live feed. I haven't written this, by the way. I'm in my late 50s now, and I have had some very strange experiences. And I like this, to be honest with you. I've always been highly sensitive to what others would call the paranormal, but I'm also a skeptic and don't really believe a lot of stuff. However, I will always remember an experience that I had when I was only 5 years old, staying in a caravan with my parents in Swanage, Dorset. Spoke to this guy yesterday. So I don't just read an email as it comes to me and think, oh, this is the bona fide truth. Obviously, I've spoke to him. It doesn't mean it's the holy grail of truth. But, I had a good conversation with this man yesterday, and just about everybody else as well that I speak to. So I was at one end of the caravan in the sleeping quarters, and my parents were at the other end, obviously in a different room. I remember waking up in the night, and there was a very bright light shining through all of the windows in the caravan. It was just like daylight. Isn't that interesting? And I could see what looked like cartoon characters waving at me and moving past the windows, and they were beckoning me to come out of the door, to come outside. And right now, I know this sounds exactly like something out of a Spielberg film or the X-Files. In fact, in Spielberg's latest film Disclosure, I believe he has a scene where the aliens disguise themselves as other creatures, particularly to appeal to children. You know, it's maybe not to appeal to children. You know, I think it's just something that's probably not frightening. So yeah, appeal. Right. Okay. But this was exactly what happened to me back in the 1970s. And this memory is so strong, it has stayed with me all my life. When I think about it, I actually feel quite terrified. I've also experienced waking up and finding myself lying next to my own body, asleep, feeling an incredibly calm and peaceful in an incredibly calm and peaceful state. When I spoke to him yesterday, yes, I just broke into that as you were telling me about it. Obviously, you weren't reading this, but he were talking about this state. And I said, and he's not put it in email. I said, you know, when you were in that sleep state or when you're awake in that blissful state, I says, did you feel huge? Everything, your fingers, your arms, your legs. But he sort of stopped for a moment. He went, do you know, yeah, I did. I've had that feeling. That's why I'm saying it. And I'm not unique for that. Other people have. Why, I don't know. Your hands feel huge. That's how it used to be when I was a child. It's so strange. Right. Incredibly calm and peaceful. And somebody was holding my hand and my right arm was outstretched. It was like they were putting their fingers into mine. I still have no idea what that was, but it was such a significant event, and that one has only happened recently. It all sounds so crazy. Sometimes I just think it must have been a dream or some crazy memory but it doesn't really mean anything. But now I believe these things really do have significance. And what I find fascinating is that Spielberg is telling an aspect of my own experience in his new film. So interesting email, I think. Thank everybody for sharing these experiences. Just have a little bit of tea, guys. All right, let's have a look. Hey, Blue Shift Rob's in. Good to see you. And let's see, 9268. We'll have a look what 926. Window of a derelict farmhouse. I told the others, and they laughed until they heard something coming towards us. I'm getting it in the long grass. I think about this often. Okay, I'm assuming that's to do with previous question, but I can't remember name. Wolves were eradicated at the end of the Premiership season. Yeah. I just cracked a rib laughing at that one. It was that funny. Let's have a look. Have you been able to throw any light on the phenomena filmed at your daughter's? No, and it's created a little bit of controversy, as in people. There's lots of people, and I welcome it. Honestly, I do. There's lots of people saying it's a vape. So if you get onto YouTube, if you've not seen it, she managed to film something, and I've put it on probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Some people are saying it's a vape, it's smoke, it's aerosol, and a lot of the times I'll say I'm not really sure, and it could be, but I'm 100% going to say it's none of those things. And I'm 100% going to say she's not faked it. And I'd put myself on the line there and say 100%, because she's not lying. She's filmed it. She's filmed what she says she's filmed. Now, there might be a natural explanation for it. I don't know what it is, but it's a genuine bit of film. And it's just this. It looks like a lava lamp on its side to me, or I likened it to Guinness being poured into a glass and that grey swirling motion that you see. So I think it's fascinating. And when I went and asked her to talk me through it a few weeks ago, what she didn't tell me until that day is that she'd seen it once before, but she said it didn't last long. So I'm really hoping it's going to make its presence known again. Time will tell. But let me get back to my point. The comments, the people that say it's vape or cigarette smoke or anything, please, because they're saying that's what it is, replicate it. I mean that in nicest kind way possible. Replicate what it is. I don't use AI. Don't put that model, what Sarah's film into AI and say, can you do me this? Do it correctly with whatever you think you can replicate it with. Send it me and I'll put it up, because I'd love to see it. I don't think I'm going to get it, but just replicate. I'll have a go at putting it up. It's not a problem. Let's have a look. Right, come on then, let's have a look. Bumps in the night. Buffet program. I didn't know about this, to be honest with you, Bumps in the Night. So I'm not even. It was just Anthony H before. I saw that, and I don't know enough about it to give you any kind of informed opinion. You'll know more about that than me. Let's have a look. 3 years after losing my chocolate Labrador Oscar, I felt a distinct nudge against my leg tonight. Why did I say right? Turned around and there was no dog there, as if the memory alone cannot create physical touch. If a memory alone cannot create physical touch, what can? You know, it's just, I wish I knew, Kirsty. It's fascinating, isn't it, that we've talked about, well, it's not happened to me personally, but people getting touched up and around these areas where we do this observation. And it's definitely something it's not physically there or visually there to us, but there's a physical to it. And you find that fascinating, don't you? You know, in ghostly accounts, that you can hear footsteps across the floor and see nothing. Is it something wanting to make its presence known? Is that how it does it? Is there really footsteps going along the floor? You hear people saying, we can hear people go upstairs. And we go to the door and there's nobody there. We can hear people walking about upstairs. And there's a house at the top of this road where Laura, our youngest daughter, and Jess, who produces all that incredible music with her husband, Jess used to do a bit of babysitting. And that house was so active. And here's a small world. Here's one for you. Linny used to visit the house because of the activity. We were both friends with people who owned it. I mean, I used to work with a lad who owned it. But Linny used to visit the house to see if he could pick up on anything because of the activity. It was prolific. And Jess and Laura went down into the kitchen to check the dog were okay, and sort of bent over and somebody spoke into her ear. You know, they told us all about, they were only young girls, you know, only in the teens. Jess would have been about 16, 17, and Laura probably only about 14 at the time. Lots of things happening in that property. And it weren't just happening, I need to stress, it weren't just happening to our girls who were babysitting there. It were happening to the people who owned the house. And when they left, I knocked on the door one day. Let me correct myself. When they left, I came home from work one day and passed in my van, and the lady of the property were outside. So I pulled up and just explained that my friend used to own that property, and I'm just curious, has anything strange ever happened in the house? And she immediately just went, "You mean the children?" I went, "Ah, right." She says, "Yeah." She says, "We hear them all the time," because it was children. It were children that you could hear laughter and you could hear children running about, and that were in that property. And properties, obviously, it's not moved; it's still there. I actually called on them about 3 or 4 months ago and spoke probably for 10 minutes to the lady. Her husband was sat in the kitchen. I could see him there, and they said there's been nothing happening. It's been as quiet as a mouse. So just, I don't know, just the way of things. Right. So let's have a look. Let's just go down here. Let's have a look, guys. Oh dear. Let's come on then. Let's have a look here. There was a man in Hull who was walking down the street, and in front of him was a person in a silver-type spacesuit looking at him. Then he vanished. Really? And is this? Have you got extensive knowledge of this, Christopher? Because it's interesting, because I can't remember year, but it were in 1970s, and I know man's name. It's Peter, and I'll not say his surname. He used to have a really good job at one of the big stately homes in just on the edge of East Yorkshire, and he told me a story. In fact, what happened was I was playing snooker somewhere. I used to go every Saturday and play snooker. I'd never been any good at snooker if I'd have played all my life, but I used to enjoy it. And a couple of lads on table where we were playing said, "Oh, Paul's interested in unexplained. Tell him about when you saw that spaceman." And they were just laughing at him, and that's why he shut down. He didn't want to talk about it. And I managed to speak to him on his own and said, what did you see?" And he went on to tell me that as a younger man, him and his wife were walking home. They'd been to some club in Bridlington, and they were near what's called the Ebor Flats. There's a block of flats on the south side, and there's a little Victorian shelter and a park in front of the flats. And as they're walking along there, coming towards them was a man in a shiny black helmet. For all intents and purposes, could have been a motorbike helmet and a black jacket on. And as he's walking towards them, he just walked and vanished, just disappeared in front of their eyes. And obviously that's had a profound effect on him. He's never forgot it. I bumped into him in Driffield probably 6 months ago, and he's in his 80s now, but I still brought it up and he still remembered it, so it's fascinating. Was it a spaceman? Probably not. But what it? I had no idea. If it's something from the past, why would he be wearing something that could have been either some kind of space helmet or a crash helmet? That's where I'm going with that one. So fascinating. And then we've got, what's his name? Glenn Stellard's sighting of this Barmston drain. I think spaceman. Let's just call him that. That's what it is. In 1970, early September 1970. And Glenn was with a group of friends on the Barmston drain, teenagers. I don't know, 3 or 4 of them, 4 or 5 of them. I can't remember the number. And they'd seen some other lads from a different area and they chased them off. That's what teenagers were like, weren't they? All this kind of battling and falling out. And they found themselves in an area where they're not normally, they shouldn't have been. They're not in trouble, but it's just, they just shouldn't have been there. It's late summer's evening. And I think they said that there was a bridge and they're looking over the bridge into the dike, into the Barmston drain, which the Barmston drains were built, I think, in late 1700s, early 1800s to obviously drain the low-lying water from around the areas of Hull, and it exits into the sea at Barmston. Hence, it's called the Barmston Drain. So it's a man-made drain system. Some of them are only 4 or 5 foot wide. Some of them will be 10, 20 foot wide. Some of them are 6 inch deep, and some of them will be 6 or 8 foot deep. Plus, it depends on weather conditions. So they're there. They're just milling around near this bridge. And one of them sees a flash in the sky, and they all look up, and suddenly this thing just drops down into the drain, into the water. They call it a drain. These are big dikes. Drops into the water. I think they said it was a glowing white blue sphere that just smashed into water, threw water up everywhere, wet some of them, and it's literally close to them. They're looking down. Suddenly they look up, and at the other side of the bank, there's a man in what looks like a black full visor motorbike helmet. That's not what they said it was, but that's what they said it resembled. A modern day one. This is 1970, remember, and a shiny dark brown or black suit. And he's got in front of him a box, a long box, foot long, say 6 inch wide, 3 or 4 inch deep, and it's covered in lights at the front, and that's all flashing. And he's moving it. He's moving it about this box, and they're mesmerised. This man's not acknowledging them. He's not looking at them. Instantly, one of the boys can see this little thing that's gone into the drain, gone into the water, glowing. Looks down, and it's slowly coming to the surface. It's now bright orange, and within a second, it's just burst front water, and it's gone. It's in sky, and it's a dot, and it's gone. They look over to the bank where the man was, and he's gone. Obviously, it's got to have been part of whatever that was. Don't you find accounts like that absolutely incredible? And once again, 1970, early 1970, September 1970. And I find that one fascinating because although we haven't got a date, but we're talking early 1970, we've got all the UFO activity in the early month of September 1970. You know, the flying saucer that allegedly landed on the cliff tops at Flamborough, and Dean, who later became the butcher at Flamborough, going to look with his school friends to look at this huge scorched circle where this flying saucer landed. And then, so I'm told, men from the MOD came and asked the farmer to plough the field out to erase all traces of where it had landed. You know, so many things. The alleged lightning tragedy, which could have been just a tragic accident. Let's not get too carried away. But a lot of people have associated it with a UFO event, XS894, the lightning that was lost off Flamborough Head on, I think it was September the 8th, 1970. So lots and lots of activity in, on and around that month. That's took us somewhere, that one, didn't it? Let's have a look. I see. I'm not reading Rick Allen's post, but I can see that you're having a few exchanges there, you two. It's not the place to fall out, guys. Let's have a look. Way back in 1984, me and my brother and his mate Jim were biking between Audi. Oh, we've done that one. Why has that one come back round? I'm losing the plot. Right. Window of a derelict farmhouse. I think we've done this one, have we? The window of a derelict. Yeah, I think we have. I'm just. Question. Right. Let's have a look here. Question. Which story still gives you goosebumps? It's a great question, Lee, isn't it? I mean, it'll for different reasons for different people, I think. You know, jumping to my book, Night People, I wrote about the people who are called the ticks because they spoke and went tick, tick as after they'd finished speaking. And that's unsettling. That they were unsettling and they still are unsettling. And I think out of everything that I wrote in that book, people have commented on that story. So it's obviously a tone with other people, but which still gives me goosebumps. It's not a story so much as an experience. If I'm talking about myself, it was when I was with Steve Ashbridge, probably 2017, 2018, and we'd gone up onto the cliff tops at Bempton. And we'd walked quite a long way. We'd walked to Danes Dyke, and it was either just before midnight, between 11:30 and 12:30. And a fear just descended on me, and I don't know why. And I've never had it since. I've never had it before or since. And it didn't affect Steve. And I felt like there were eyes watching me all over. I didn't feel like running or being running like a little girl into the night. But I felt frightened. I'm not going to deny I felt frightened, but I can't explain why. And you kind of get goosebumps thinking about that. I got sort of a wave of fear when I was with Chris Mack and we put the light on and lit the figure up. And then jokingly, as people have heard me say, I said, "Well, you watch, I'll turn the light off and it'll have gone." And that's exactly what happened, you know. And Chris said your face were a picture. Well, I should imagine it was because I've looked because I couldn't believe that there was somebody there, and then they'd just gone, and that kind of told me that, you know, there's things on and around these places, not necessarily just there, connected to the unexplained, that we've just got to be aware of, and not everything's funny and not everything's a joke, basically. Let's have a look. Oh, Fortian. Right. I want to see you, Fortian. Off to see Disclosure Day this week. Love a Spielberg movie. Do you think there's anything in the movies that resembles the truth? Are we seeing soft disclosure? I think we've seen soft disclosure, Chris, for years and years and years. And the words or the line, we're conditioned to the condition. We're not even aware that you guys are, so you won't be asking questions that it's happening. But, you know, all the children's games, the children's masks, party balloons, toys, everything's given us this slant of this is what the alien looks like. This is what the unknown others look like. Is that soft disclosure? The movies that are showing us this, and we're being indoctrinated into it. So yeah, I think all of that is soft disclosure. Let me just put it up. There's something else on that. What you said. Do you think there's anything in these movies that resembles the truth? Yeah, I do. Do you guys remember Steven Spielberg's Taken? I think the star or the little girl who's now a mature woman or a grown woman, the Dakota Fanning. Is that her name? I think it is. And she was when the beings came. You know, let's imagine it's fiction, but where do these stories come from? They appeared as a like a fictional character, almost like Peter Rabbit, and walked away with her. And we've done this earlier in this stream tonight, where people have suggested that they're appearing as different things, appearing as something more pleasing to a child or even an adult. And so, where does this come from? If people are depicting this, and the people that are actually showing it in films and movies, great. It's great that you're doing it, but they probably have got a little bit more on the pulse of what's happening than what we have, and or we're being steered away and in the wrong direction. But as regards the depictions of almost cartoon type creatures showing themselves to younger people, I think that they're on the money with that. I think that's about right, because obviously we're getting those reports, aren't we? You're hearing me read these reports. I told you about the time that the animals fatalities were occurring in 2017 to 2019, and I were going out at 4:30 in the morning and I'm finding these unfortunate animals. Now, where am I going with this? It'll make sense in a minute. I'd get back about 8, 8:30. If I got back at 8, sometimes Mary weren't up, my wife weren't up, and I got back and just wake her up 7:30, 8:30, I don't know. And she said, something really strange has happened. I says, what's that? She said, I woke up, the room's in darkness. She says, but about 1 foot, 2 foot down from the ceiling, from the ceiling, and then on the ceiling, I can see what look like cartoon characters of Scooby-Doo. This is my wife. She never talks like this. Well, she did. And I remember Carl, the editor of the Truth Proof books, and relaying this story. And I says, I'm going to put it in book, this Scooby-Doo. And his Carl's exact words were, Scooby don't. He really did. That's what he said. Because it's beyond... It don't fit with the narrative of what people are expecting to hear when we're talking about the UFOs and the unexplained phenomena. But surely the proof of this, and I'm getting braver at telling that kind of story, because I'm getting more and more people coming forward. The guy in the caravan, little boys, all the light filling the caravan, and seeing these beings, these almost caricatures of humans. It's strange, isn't it, guys? I'm not asking anybody to believe what I'm saying or believe what these people are saying. Just give them the respect that they deserve, because it's clearly their truth. And I don't think I'm going to having some kind of episode when I were talking about the things from childhood. And in 1998, with the scars that were appearing on my body every 3 to 6 months, and the actual medical notes that I've got where the doctors are saying we're perplexed by the punch hole lesions that are appearing on this man's body every 3 to 6 months. Don't forget my medical notes and the talk that I did about the night people are the reasons that John Priestland started Unhidden. That's what he said, So anyway, let me stop waffling on. Let's have a look. Jan and Andrew. If you are on the phone, you have to come out of the chat to press. You can go back to chat. Hold on. If you are on the phone, you have to come out of chat to press like. Jan, I don't know. I don't know. What you're asking me then? I don't know. Let's have a look. Do you think it's important to study all rabbit holes of ice strangers because they all lead to the same? I do, Matthew. I really do. I think it's important that we don't get stuck in one particular genre of the phenomena. I really think it's highly important. Doesn't mean I'm right, but that's just my way of going with things, that there's a link to it all, and don't write it off because you're not quite interested in the cryptids or the spirit phenomena. That email that Paul wrote to us as a group, it's food for thought. It's really, really interesting that he's suggesting that after spending many years of his own life investing time in spiritualism and sitting in circles trying to make contact with the unknown other, that we're somehow doing the same but unknowingly. And so I really appreciate what he did. Question. Let's have a look. Just have a little bit more tea. Which local legend from your area do you think deserves more attention? I think they all deserve attention. We've just, me and Chris Wright went into the woods. When did we go in? About 2 weeks ago, and we talked about black dog lore, as in the folklore of the phantom black hound, the black shuck, the padfoot, the shrieker, all different names in different counties and areas that they've got for these huge black dogs. And if they're not if there's no truth to these things and it's just stories, anecdotal stories from folklore, then why are they still being reported today? Why are people still reporting and seeing the same things in present day? The descriptions are remarkably the same. You know, in folklore, they might have said huge red, fiery red eyes, and we'll say, oh, they're glowing eyes with bioluminescence. But essentially, we're talking about the same thing. And so the North Yorkshire moors and the forests of North Yorkshire and the black dog, which this isn't Paul Sinclair saying it shapeshifts, but that's the word we're using. It's a shapeshifter. But in folklore, they say it can appear as a huge, disfigured, almost pony-like creature, or a bear, or a huge phantom hound. So is that shapeshifting, but just a little bit cruder at saying it, or is it even a better way of saying it? I don't know. But what I'm getting at is that these stories that are carried through into present day, we're not reviving them. I've not got people to come to me and share these stories with me as though oh, well, send me a story, just make me a good story up about something in North Yorkshire, will you please? You know, because the stories are there. You know, there's no shortage of it. And by putting out these YouTube accounts, we're getting even more. So we walk around Broxton Forest and we talk about the folklore and connecting it to present day. And it's giving people the confidence to come out and share their stories. I know that there's people sat out there. You might be listening to this now and you're sat holding on to your own truth. You know, I spoke to a lady who lived in one of the villages on the Wolds, probably definitely last year, might be 18 months since. And she'd sat on a UFO story in Dalby Forest. I mean, she lived on Wolds now, but she'd sat on it for years and years and years and told a friend of hers, who was a police officer actually, that she wanted to talk to me. And I went to her home, spent about 3 or 4 hours with her. And she went through this amazing story that I've never really told in detail because I don't know whether I can. I don't even think she'll look at internet, but I'm not going to do it because she was that not possessive of the story. It just affected her that much what she'd seen. The police officer, a friend, hasn't heard it. Do you know what I mean? So it's difficult. There's a lady in Bridlington that claims, and me and Bob Brown have been to see her, and she claims that she keeps getting visitations. And I've recorded her, and she allowed me to record her, but I've not spoke about it. I've not spoke about that one because I could see that whatever it was that she claimed to be experiencing were really disturbing for her. And so hence I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to highlight it and expose this lady to even... to have to speak about it. If somebody knew her and they see this and they want to, then they ask her about it, then she's got to relive it. She wanted to come to me to speak about it, by the way. I didn't force anybody, but I knew actually after speaking to her that, you know, I'm not really going to go any further with it unless you're really, really bold and want me to do it. Right, stop rambling, Paul. Let's go on. Paranormal Coffee Lounge. Let's have a look. Are they us from the future? Gene harvesting, and are we the stock? I just wish I know. I think, do you know, Terry, for every question that you throw out, I throw out, and everybody else in chat throws out, because you're all as valid as me, there's 1,000 more questions that we can ask, and they're all valid, but I just don't know. I wish I did. 424 in chat. Well done. Thank you very much. And as we said before, because we're nearly there now, I didn't realise, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, unless you think it's rubbish, in which case, don't subscribe and we don't want to see it again. No, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. You're welcome. It's a safe place to be, and you'll get treated with respect that you give us. And we'd love to see you here again. So subscribe and like if you're there. If it's at your fingertips now, have a look and give us a like and subscribe. All right, let's have a look here. Paul, many report Bigfoot sightings alongside UFO sightings. I put this to the Cliff Barrettman and Howard Hughes show. He just thinks it's an undiscovered ape. Thoughts, but I don't think it's an undiscovered ape. But what do I know? It could be. You would. Here's my thoughts on it then. 55 or treble 5. If it's an undiscovered hominid, then the potential for it to be an undiscovered hominid in somewhere like the vast forests of America or Alaska, it's there, isn't it? There's the potential for that. But in the UK, I don't think so. And then the people that want to go down the ape, it's a huge ape that's just not yet been discovered. They don't want to. They want to cherry pick what it is and its attributes. And what do I mean by attributes? So they want to claim it as being some kind of huge ape that's undiscovered, and they'll take that report. But in with that report, not in all instances, but in many, the witness will say it glided. It just looked like it were on a conveyor belt. We'll not use that bit. That don't fit with my narrative of the undiscovered ape. We won't use that bit. You see where we're going? There's a monstrous gap in the research because they won't accept some things that are being said because they've got a fixed narrative. So we won't use that bit. There's a tree that's 18-inch wide. Looking at it, it went behind the tree and didn't come out of the other side. We'll not use that bit. It's seemingly vanished. They're running at, 45 miles an hour, and it goes up an hill at the same speed. It doesn't slow down. It's body type. The body type of these things that have been discovered, that have been reported, don't look like they're built for speed, do they? I've said it many times. If we're body typing people, it's something I know a little bit about. We've got the ectomorph, the mesomorph, and the endomorph. So we've got the skinny person, we've got the athletic person, and we've got the sort of the person who's, I don't know, it's not built for athleticism, the endomorph. These things are endomorphic. They've got great thick legs. They're really sort of thick set things that don't look built for speed, yet we hear of them traveling at incredible speeds. In some instances, there's the mind speak attached to it. What animal do you know that can do that? But a lot of the researchers, not all of them, there are a lot of the researchers that want to go down the route of this is an undiscovered ape, don't want to pull that section of the report of the sighting through into their research. Big mistake, because we've got to cover everything. We've got to look at everything and look at it with a critical eye. And if you've got enough people en masse reporting similar things, then you've got to attach some semblance of truth to it. Don't you think? I do. So do I think it's an undiscovered ape? I think there's a potential for that in the vast forests of America and other places. But then you've got tiny islands. I mean, small islands, not just like the United Kingdom, which is postage stamp sized compared to America, but even smaller islands where these things have been seen. And, and obviously there's nowhere to hide for these things. And look at the amount of calories they need to consume. There's something else, in my opinion. So it won't please everybody, will it? But once again, we're only dealing with our own opinions. And maybe I'm wrong. I might be right. Let's have a look. I think we're just about done with questions, and I haven't read Rick and Brother Littlefoot, but I bet Rick's been arguing all night. Right, Paul. I always like to hear your phrases. It's not exactly the smoking gun of ufology, but what for you would present the smoking gun? Yes, a good question. That Blue John. It's difficult. Do you know? Excuse me. Not necessarily ufology. Well, let's just throat net out to unexplained phenomena. What would represent the smoking gun? It maybe wouldn't have to be to the world. If our team, if we want to call it our team, actually experienced something as a collective that were deep and personal to us all, once again, we wouldn't be able to show you probably the proof of it, because it just does. It is, as the subtitle of this book says, the truth that leaves no proof. And but just something profound that would happen that leaves you in no doubt. I mean, no doubt that there's the existence of the unknown others due to what I experienced in childhood, and I'm not kind of frightened of that now. Maybe I would be if it presents again, but I'm not at this present time. And I want to engage, and I want to kind of push those buttons and see if we can get a little bit further. But it'd be difficult. What would represent a smoking gun? It would be difficult. I don't know. I don't know. The superpowers and the big nations of the world actually coming out and giving us something that can't be denied. And can you imagine? I doubt if it's ever happened as a collective, and I don't think it'll ever happen as a single nation. And here's my reasons. Let's assume America. We all want to be first to something. First on moon, stick a flag in it. We own it. Nobody else can touch it. But if they'd got that knowledge, some superpower, some America have got that knowledge, and they put it out there, then what are the other superpowers going to do about it? You know, are they going to come out and start saying it's almost like my dad's bigger than your dad kind of thing? Is any of that remotely making sense? I don't think other nations will remain silent if true disclosure is going to take place. These are only my thoughts on it. I don't think it's going to happen. Not unless they do it as a collective, some power elite above what we would think of the higher echelons of power within the world. I'm probably talking out of my backside because I'm doing what you guys are doing. We're just feeling around in dark, and none of us really have an answer on this. That's all this. Let's just have a look. We're 9 o'clock, aren't we? 9426. Cats are privy to the spirit world. They can see and sense things we can't. Could these reported cats be familiar serving the witch in the witch? Maybe. I don't know. Do you know Mark, who comes on Clifftops with us, his cat? He often tells us that it looks at things. You know, it looks at the wall and it kind of follows things, and it looks down. They hear a noise and it goes stands near the hallway door and looks down the hall, and it's as though it can see something they can't see. But a lot of animals can sense and perceive things, can't they? And yeah, it's just some is it a sixth sense, seventh sense? I don't know what it is, but we're just about there, guys, and that's 2 hours of me just rattling on. So I hope I haven't bored you too much, and all being well, we'll see you next Sunday. There's questions here I haven't got to, but I don't think I'm going to. If I do that one, I'll end up doing another one and another one. So all I'm going to do is say good night and thank you very much. It's been great chatting with you all. Thanks for support. Once again, if you do get a chance, like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Thanks for support, guys. And Lee and Gemma, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella come in, he said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, you know, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.